Carmine met with Beyond Stillness over the course of 5 weeks to articulate and publicly share this story of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope. To learn more about our programs, services, or to sponsor a guest on their story crafting journey, please visit www.beyondstillness.org. This story is presented in partnership with Santa Clara County's Stroke Awareness Foundation. We're honored to amplify voices from Santa Clara County and the surrounding areas. Visit www.strokeinfo.org to learn more. This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we welcome guest Carmine Indindoli, who shares the journey of relearning how to walk, talk, and live with intention, drawing inspiration from his love of gardening, family, and fellow survivors. Through patience, persistence, and community, he found healing and growth, not just in the soil, but within himself. Thank you for joining us for Part 1, Carmine Indindoli's story. Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, we create a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment of pause, a moment to honor the way that wisdom has emerged through recovery. And we give thanks. Now, Carmine's story.
I've always loved the quiet magic of planting a seed, the daily tending, the waiting, the wonder of watching it grow into something that nourishes others. Sometimes it becomes fruit for the table, or food for animals that give milk, or a meal shared among family. So much goes into that one tiny seed: the sun, soil, the water, the weather, and most of all, the hands that care for it. I tell my grandchildren, don't plant the seed unless you plant to do the dishes, because growing something, like life, is a full cycle process, one that calls for care, patience, commitment, and community. Throughout my life, I poured my studies in engineering, agriculture, and crop science into serving both the land and the people who depend on it. I love getting my hands dirty and making things grow. I've been fortunate to travel the world and meet others who tend grapevines with the same care and who pause to celebrate when the first buds appear. There's something timeless and universal in that moment. It reminds me that, like the land's quiet resilience, the drive to heal and grow lives deep within us all, and that through connection, new life and hope begin to take root. That deep connection to the rhythms of the land, to cultivate life and honor each new beginning, was part of my everyday. February 3rd, 2021, just another day in the life of an 83-year-old retired farmer. I spent the afternoon with my hands in the dirt, the sun warm on my back. I rode the tractor, tended to the land, and felt the familiar aches that come after a good day's work. When evening came, I headed into the house, sweaty, thirsty, and a little sore. Karen, my wife, greeted me at the door. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You sound funny." "Yes, I'm okay," I replied, brushing it off. I took a tiny sip of scotch, a bigger drink of water, headed into the shower, and before long I was in bed, ready to rest. The next morning, something was off. I wobbled into the kitchen, struggling to keep my balance. "What's going on?" Karen asked, now clearly alarmed. I tried to answer, but my words came out in mumbles. Without hesitation, she said, "You're going to the ER." When we arrived at the hospital, they peeled me out of the car, settled me into a wheelchair. The questions started immediately. I could barely make sense of them, let alone respond, just mumbles. They rushed me through a CAT scan, an MRI. Soon after, a nurse wheeled in a computer and a doctor appeared on the screen. From a farmer's standpoint, it felt strange, talking to a machine in the middle of such a whirlwind. "There's a damaged area on the lower left side of your brain," the doctor said. "Unfortunately, we're too late for immediate action." I wasn't a candidate for TPA. I couldn't respond aloud, but inside my thoughts and emotions were loud and clear. It was peak COVID, and I tested positive. They moved me to an isolation room, cold and loud, with the constant roar from an exhaust fan and air filter. The nurse, fully covered in PPE, gown, gloves, goggles, N95, visor, said, "Push the button if you need help." The button became a game. I needed to pee, so I pushed it. I watched the wall clock. Someone peeked in. I mumbled pee. 10 minutes later, another masked figure handed me a plastic jar. I figured it out. The next wait was 15 minutes. It only got longer. My record was 2 hours and 45 minutes. They almost never spoke when they appeared. At some point, I was finally released and wheeled into regular care. I was so grateful when a very nice occupational therapist arrived at my bedside. She scooted me to the very edge and draped my legs over the side, wrapped herself around my waist, set me in the chair that was perfectly situated. It was the first time I came into physical contact with another person, and the first time I've been out of bed since that eventful morning. I'm so thankful for her interaction and care. She gave me details about discharge and home care arrangements for occupational, physical, speech therapy. She tended me and offered what I've been craving all along: human connection, information, and helpful touch. All hospital patients deserve this. It's necessary for our growth and survival. The kind therapist returned the next day and gently asked me to try moving my fingers. Then she said, "You had a stroke that affected your right side, your fingers, hand, arm, toes, ankle, foot, and the muscles around your mouth." By then, I had a sense of what was happening. But there's something powerful about sitting with someone who names your loss, not clinically, but with care. I'm especially grateful that this therapist took the time to see me as a person, not a case or a chart. Karen asked that I be discharged home, where she would take on the role of caregiver and coordinate in home therapy. The very next morning, that same compassionate occupational therapist helped me move from my hospital bed to the wheelchair, then into the car. The hour and 45-minute ride home felt like something out of a Star Wars movie. Everything was moving so fast. The world was spinning around me. Then finally, home sweet home. I don't remember much of those early days, but I do recall that therapy started immediately. My physical therapist, Jonathan, my occupational therapist, Kate, showed up every day, making sure I had everything I needed to reconnect my neural pathways and regain mobility. It was tough, but that was the point. I didn't want to label it as difficult experience. Instead, I thought of it as a different experience. Each day I showed up for myself. I reminded myself that every day is a new opportunity. When it stops, that's it, I'm gone. In the meantime, if I don't work towards progress, I'll stay right where I am. And that thought was unsettling. I was here to learn and grow. I knew I couldn't blame the doctors or therapists. They have limited time and resources. The responsibility was mine, so I showed up every day, and I'm grateful my loved ones did too. My daughter Maria is a speech therapist, and she encouraged me to get up every morning and either speak or think about the alphabet. At first it was a struggle. I could barely recall words, let alone go through the alphabet, letter by letter. But when I finally managed, she raised the bar and asked me to say it aloud. I felt like a vine growing, reaching for the next rung. And when I made it, my farmer, my steady support, placed another rung for me to reach forward. Following Maria's instructions, I began saying words that started with each letter, then tried to write them. Slowly I began to print. It was long and challenging, but I knew it was something I had to work on every day. Some days were better than others. When I looked back over the months, I could see the growth. Seed to vine. My 2-plus-year-old granddaughter Rhea reminded me that I'm a lifelong learner, always ready to grow. One day I watched her struggle to use a fork. She awkwardly grabbed it and tried to maneuver it, observing her sister do the same over and over. But this was one of her first attempts at controlling her hand in that way. Frustrated, she dropped the fork, but then without missing a beat, she scooped it up with her palm and kept going. I couldn't help but chuckle, knowing exactly how she felt. But what amazed me was that she didn't give up. She found another way to get the job done. No wonder kids learn so fast. They just keep trying. Later, she figured out how to hold the fork properly. That moment reminded me of the importance of perseverance. If I didn't try, I wouldn't progress. My mobility wasn't gone. It was just hidden, waiting to be found. Rhea was and still is my teacher. She showed me that learning is an ongoing process, and laughter is an essential part of the journey. Throughout life, we are constantly learning how to do things, even the little things. Those moments are incredibly encouraging. I learned to be patient with myself, and now when I face a challenge, I remind myself that it's just part of the learning process. I remind myself of Rhea. When I was ready to relearn how to drive, I knew I had to take it step by step. I started with the lawnmower, then moved to the garden tractor, then a bigger tractor, and eventually a car. I practiced circles around the neighborhood, braking, steering, taking it slow. It was all about repetition and patience until it clicked. Patience was something I knew well. There are many small incremental steps and factors, like hard work, healthy eating, and communal support, that have contributed to my recovery. Each of these plays a vital role in my growth. In time, I came across a flyer for the Gilroy Stroke Support Group, an invitation for stroke survivors to gather and share. I hadn't realized how much I needed that connection till I stepped into that room. The group wasn't large, but that first day left a lasting impact. I listened to people navigating life with different effects of stroke, each finding new ways to move forward. I saw others further along in their journey and heard how important it was to keep challenging yourselves. Most of all, I felt a deep sense of belonging. We ate, laughed, and shared stories together. Now I return each month and find joy in the moment when new members arrive. I remember being in their shoes, and I feel grateful to offer my support, my experience, and a sense of camaraderie, while also welcoming the wisdom they bring. We all have something to learn, and we all have something to teach. Rich Yamashita, a member of our group, started a garden club, and as you can imagine, I jumped at the opportunity to join. Most of the members were into flowers and succulents, but a few had a shared curiosity about fruit trees and berries. That common interest pulled us together. We started helping neighbors plant table grapes, swapping stories as we dug into the soil. There's something grounding about being around people who are generous with their time, who don't mind getting dirty, and who genuinely enjoy growing things together. One afternoon, we spent 3 hours potting tiny tomato seedlings into trays for our plant sale. Some of us are bringing baby fig trees. Others have vines and peach seedlings ready to go. I was asked to teach a short class on how to grow grapevines, something I learned from someone who once looked me in the eye and said, "Make sure you pass this knowledge on." So I do. And every time I explain the process, how to plant, prune, and care for a vine, I see the light go on in someone's face. "Wow," they say, "I actually get it now." It's a beautiful exchange. A quiet kind of purpose. For me, gardening has become a form of therapy. It pulls together so many of the things I've worked on in recovery: physical movement, cognitive focus, patience, care. Being in that space with people who share the work and joy reminds me that healing doesn't just happen in hospitals or therapy rooms. It happens in the dirt, in conversation, in the passing on of knowledge. We grow things, and in the process, we grow ourselves. Ultimately, I needed to make therapy my own. While the physical therapist's hands and exercises were helpful, I adopted my own types of therapy. A week had 668 hours. I wondered how much time I could devote to recovery. I realized that almost all of those hours. My PT became my gardening. I needed to try to walk outside, balance as I watered, reach for the plants, poke holes in the dirt. This week I focused on chopping wood. At first I have to kneel in the dirt to balance my body while I split the logs, instead of goofy exercises. My PT and OT is embedded in my yard work. I love and do work that feels purposeful. I can't do that all hours of the day. So then there is MUT. When yard work is done for the day, I sit on my patio and listen to music, mostly instrumental. My mind follows the notes and imagines the performers or composers. My emotions dance in the afternoon sun. I drift off to the sky and the weather. Music sets the mood. Music therapy. Next, ET, entertainment therapy. I read books or listen to dry bar comedy out of Salt Lake City or something. It's clean comedy, no foul language or offensive content. Challenges my mind, and when I invite others to spend time with me, I get SOCT, social therapy. As I said before, human interaction, connection, and care is of the utmost importance. SOCT can double as speech therapy. The hours are adding up, but at some point we need to feed ourselves to recover and grow. As a farmer, I love mealtime because it's time to showcase hard work with each other. I learn tricks in the kitchen. Cutting a slice of bread is different. I set my left hand on the loaf, my right hand grabs the knife. I slowly saw, repeating again and again. I don't worry about how long it takes. At first I had to stop and call for help. Now, after practicing a lot, I can do it slowly. Though my approach to cooking is different, see that I didn't use the word difficult, I think it's important to spend time there. The kitchen is a space where we tend to the fruits of the earth and to our loved ones. So don't forget, caregiver therapy. Karen cares for me in so many ways. I think it's important for me to push myself every day to do what I can to care for her. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is also therapy for me. Not sure how many hours of therapy that comes to, but let's throw in the remainder into SLT, sleep therapy. Sleep is so important for the brain to reconnect its pathways. At first I get down on myself for sleeping too much, but that too is a natural part of the growth process. All in all, I'm here to devote 168 hours a week to my recovery. I do and redo all the things I love and hope you will too. There's no need to be perfect, but it's important for people to see me exactly as I am. I'm perfect in the process. I may need help getting the box off the top shelf or have a door open for me, but sometimes I am able to hold a door open for others. Farming is an 11-month-a-year commitment. There are no vacations. It takes discipline, focus, and a willingness to show up every day. In many parts of the world, farming isn't a hobby, it's survival. And recovery is the same. No shortcuts, no days off. We plant ourselves in places with people and resources that nourish our minds, bodies, and spirits. Some days we feel progress, other days it's like we're still beneath the soil, uncertain in the dark. But we keep going. We get up. We challenge ourselves. And with time, something shifts. Each time I tuck a tiny seed in the soil, I remember the micro-planting lesson someone shared in a group. That all a seed needs is a half-inch cube of dirt to begin. That's it. One small space, full of quiet potential. Healing works the same way. It doesn't always start with grand gestures, but with a gentle nudge forward, a breath, a question, a single step. My stroke, like that seed, taught me that growth often begins in tight, unseen places, but with patience and care, we reach toward the light. Recovery isn't a return to what was, it's the quiet blooming of what can still be. And like any true gardener knows, planting the seed is just the beginning. And I've learned to say, don't plant the seed unless you plan to do the dishes, because growth means showing up for the whole process, tending to what's growing, sharing the harvest, and cleaning up after the feast. It means honoring the full cycle, start to finish. Each time I pass on what I've learned, whether it's how to prune a vine or how to keep going after a setback, I'm not just planting something new. I'm carrying the process forward. I'm living the cycle, and so are you.
Storytelling empowers us to share our experiences in a way that invites others to reflect on their own. In closing, we offer reflection questions as an opportunity to spark dialogue with yourself, friends, family, or fellow stroke survivors. In a moment, I will read questions aloud. You can also find them written in the podcast episode description. Community conversation prompts. How do you incorporate therapy into activities you enjoy? How has sharing your story or listening to others' stories helped your healing process?
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Thank you for listening to Part 1, Carmine Indindoli's story. Stick with us for Part 2, Carmine Indindoli's interview. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. We hope Carmine's journey reminds you of the strength in patience, persistence, and community. May you grow roots of resilience in your own recovery. If you found value in today's episode, please like, share, subscribe, or leave a review so others can find these stories of hope. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational. This story was presented in partnership with Santa Clara County's Stroke Awareness Foundation, that's founded on a mission to bring life-saving, standardized stroke treatment to Santa Clara County. Today, all 10 hospitals in Santa Clara County are stroke certified. For over 2 decades, the Stroke Awareness Foundation has raised awareness and empowered the community through education on the warning signs of stroke. The Stroke Awareness Foundation works to reach all of our communities through multilingual BEFAST education. Know the signs, save a life. Recognizing stroke symptoms quickly improves stroke outcomes and can make all the difference. Together, we save lives and improve the health of our community. These are common stroke symptoms. B, fast. B, balance, sudden loss of balance or coordination. E, eyes, sudden trouble seeing in one or both eyes. F, face, facial drooping or uneven smile. A, arms, weakness or numbness in one arm. S, speech, slurred speech or difficulty speaking. T, time to call 911